Good evening, and thank you for joining us this evening at Colling City Hall. I've got a couple really exciting guests with me today, I think, and it's going to be, I think we've got some good topics to talk about. We've got with me today our new city attorney. We'll be able to introduce him, Jared Johnson. It's exciting to have Jared with us. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Mayor.
And we also have with us Arlen Rasmussen. He's our sanitation superintendent, and we are going to be talking about a number of different things today.
Yep.
From recycling to
leaf pickup
to all kinds of stuff. So I think it's going to be a good, informative night anyway, and so we appreciate. Thank you, Arlen, for being here as well. Really appreciate that. Why don't we talk recycling first? Is that all right with you, Jared?
That's fine. No problem.
Okay. We recently got in trouble, not in trouble, but we got people excited and fired up at us because we had to stop taking some of the plastics.
Yes, 3 through 7s in particular, the plastics. About the end of August, we got a notification from Western Recycling, who is the city's recycling processor, that their buyers would no longer be able to sell their products to China if they contained 3 through 7 plastics. So they sent out a notice back then in August that the city of Pocatello would have to stop allowing that in the curbside recycling program. That took us by surprise. That took a lot of people in Pocatello by surprise. We received a number of phone calls from very upset citizens over that, wanting to know why and what was the city doing and whose idea was this and all that kind of stuff. And you know, this really isn't a city of Pocatello issue. This is a national and global problem. China imports 40% of all U.S. recycling materials. 50% of the paper products all go to China. So they're a pretty big player, and when China says that we are no longer going to accept a certain product in that material, it has an effect.
Absolutely, it does.
So, you know.
So 3 through 7, can you explain what those products are? 3 through 7, what kind of plastic are we talking about?
Well, basically a 3 through 7 plastic is kind of a harder, it's made of a different chemical compound, and a way that I tell it is like a 3 through 7 will like crinkle when you like food containers, clamshells, that they kind of have that crinkly thing. If you bend it a few times, they start to break. It's a hard plastic.
Okay.
It's not like a water bottle or a milk jug that's kind of squishable, and that's how they kind of distinguish it. That's how I distinguish them. On the bottoms of them, they are clearly marked 1s and 2s, which is what we want, and 3 through 7s are what are no longer acceptable. But basically there are things like clamshell food containers, which like a roasted chicken would come in, or a salad, that kind of thing. They usually got black bottoms, clear tops.
Yeah.
Those are no longer accepted. Cottage cheese containers, yogurt containers, anything like that is no longer accepted. Those are all 3 through 7s.
So somebody explained it to me one day because I'm confused, and I'll tell you folks, this is not something the city wanted to do. This was, and I need to commend our recycling program and Arlen and his staff, because as soon as we heard this, we stopped.
Yes.
A few other communities kept going. We kind of took the beating, and now since then, this isn't just Pocatello. This is nationally throughout, and people they aren't taking these, and they won't take them anymore.
No,
and so we're not special.
No.
I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, not unique.
Not unique.
Yeah.
We might be special, but not unique in this. But it was explained to me, if the opening is bigger than the bottom, then you shouldn't.
Right, like a cottage cheese
like
container.
A cottage cheese container.
What they classify to us, what they would call a bottle, is that the top has to be smaller than the bottom, so like a water bottle, or a laundry detergent bottle, or something along like that. If it's like a cottage cheese or a yogurt container, then that is generally not accepted.
Okay.
But I think the easier way is, does it crinkle?
Does it crinkle? I'd never heard that. So
if it's hard plastic, it's probably not acceptable.
So do you have any idea why they don't want the hard plastic? Is it What's the reasoning for that?
Well,
Do you know?
back in 2013, China, well, let me back up a little bit. China's been dealing with some pollution problems of their own over the last few years. And back in 2013, they implemented a program called Green Fence. And the purpose of that was to start reducing China's own pollution problems and stop importing potential pollutants from other countries.
I see.
So the process of transforming the 3 through 7's plastic into a reusable plastic resin is a lot more complicated with that type of plastic. It's not as environmentally friendly.
Okay.
And China, in order to improve their quality, air quality and stuff over there, it's just flat out said, we're not bringing it in. And we're no longer going to remanufacture that in China. So that just put an end to it right there. And,
Sure.
And virtually 100% of the 3 through 7 plastics goes to China, almost 100% of it.
Wow.
So all of that stuff is currently being landfilled. From what I understand, it's being landfilled in China.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're landfilling it there now. They're not
even going to clear up what they've got. They're
Nope.
just putting it in the
in the landfills.
Landfill.
So, and that's why as soon as we heard that, we reached out to our customers and we're like trying to get that out of the stream because that just adds cost to everybody and it ultimately ends up in a landfill somewhere. It's just a matter of whose.
Yeah.
And whether it's ours, Boise's, China's.
Yeah.
So hopefully something like this will kind of push the manufacturers to develop a process where this stuff can be done domestically.
Sure.
And because I really think that's where the recycling communities kind of dropped the ball a little bit. They had 20 years to figure out how to do this stuff in America, and they chose not to. So maybe now, now might be the time where they start developing the infrastructure to keep most of our recycled material here. And it really amazed me taking some of these phone calls, how many people really don't understand, that this stuff all goes overseas, the vast majority of it. And they all think, well, if I recycle my water bottle, we can send it over to Wisconsin and they make a new water bottle out of it. And that's not how it works. It all gets boated up, baled up, and sent to a foreign country, and then they sell it back to us.
We give them what they can sell us back.
Yeah, there you go.
Good for us, I guess. But yeah, so we did take a beating on that a little bit.
Yes.
But I do want people to understand that there's a reason for it, and it was out of our hands.
Yes.
Nothing we could really truly do about it.
Yeah, and actually, then the more that we help the processors like Western, and we keep these products clean, and we do our part of that, that helps drive our processing costs down. Because if we give them a lot of contaminated stuff, and they have to spend a great deal of time and effort trying to clean that so they can sell it, then it just drives everybody's costs up, and it limits our markets, or their markets really. But
Sure.
So Pocatello's always been really good. We did a contamination survey last year, and we hit about 6% contaminants in a recycle cart. The national average is between 16 and 18%.
Okay.
So we're stellar, and that's one of the reasons why Western reached out to us first, is because we do have a good reputation with those guys about being able to deliver a clean product, and they have told me that we're going to do a bale sample probably the first part of next week and pull one of our bales apart, and let's see, now that we've had a little time to get the community involved in this and see what kind of response we're getting. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. So what's your definition, or what is their definition of a clean recycle? What do you mean?
Well, like stuff they don't want in there would be like stuff that you have to sort out. Plastic bags, big problem. They don't. At no point do they want to be recycling plastic bags. It just fouls up the machinery. There's no market for it. It all goes to the landfill. There are a few specialty stores around town that will take plastic bags, but they have their own little marketing niche, and they send them back to their own manufacturers to be repurposed that way. But they're not part of any what I would call single stream recycling program.
Okay.
So you just get junk in there. I mean, people put stuff in there that they think is recyclable, garden hoses, swimming pools, car parts. It's a metal part, it's recyclable. And, You know, they might be putting in there with good intent, but it actually takes a lot of labor and expense to clean that stuff up, because even though it might be an aluminum carburetor, it is not the same as an aluminum can.
Yeah.
And so, you know, getting people educated and getting them to understand that there is a strict process that this stuff has to go through, and when we start deviating from that, it starts causing problems, not only with the vendors, but with other markets, you know, so.
So let's go over quickly then what you can and cannot. What are the cannots? Garden hoses, car parts, metal cans, like
No,
your-
tin cans, aluminum cans, stuff like that are all perfectly fine.
Okay.
You know, plastic deli trays, which would be the clamshells we talked about, stuff like potato chip bags, stuff, paper towels, anything that has a film on it, any like paper plates that have, they might be paper, but they have that wax coating on them.
Oh, yeah.
So they don't want those. Obviously, toys, big wheels, anything like that, even though they're plastic, are not recyclable.
So swimming pools, because we're probably entering the season where people are saying, yeah, that swimming pool's had a hole in it all summer long. I'm just gonna get rid of it, roll it up,
Roll it up, stuff it in the can.
stuff it in there.
Yeah.
We don't want those.
Nope, we're gonna put a tag on that cart, an oops tag on it, and let those people know that that is not acceptable.
Okay.
You know, and that's typically how we deal with those kinds of issues when the guys are on route. They come up on a can that looks like it's got stuff in it, and they'll kind of check it out, and we'll put an orange oops tag on them and let the customer know that that is not something we can take.
So we make sure that they understand that
Yeah.
we can't take those things, and that is just what it is.
Yeah.
Paper products, so paper products from your notebooks
Yes. Yeah. any of
to
that-
newspapers, you
Yes.
can.
Yep. Notebooks and phone books and catalogs, cardboard boxes, like a cereal box. As long as you take the liner out of it, the cereal box
Oh, yeah,
is good, right?
yeah.
Not the liner. Liner's
Okay.
got to come out. That's that plastic wrap
Yeah.
that they don't want. Like some envelopes and mail, anything like that. Any major paper product we would take.
Okay.
If it's got a lot of food on it. You know, pizza boxes are good. We get a lot of calls about pizza boxes. Pizza boxes are acceptable. We'll take
Okay.
those. So,
Okay, I was never thought that they weren't, and so it's good to know that they are
yeah, well,
acceptable.
some boxes kind of have that waxy look to them, you know,
Yeah.
and people can confuse those with like a paper plate.
Okay.
You know, but it's, you know, Western tells us that pizza boxes are good. So,
They're all right. All right, that sounds good. So one thing that you can do instead of using at the grocery store when you go, if you have a chance for paper or plastic, go with paper.
absolutely. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised that the industry isn't leaning that way anyway. I mean, and I think with the ban on the 3 through 7s that you might start to see that get a lot more footing. That places like grocery stores and manufacturers that sell that kind of stuff might start going back to the paper cartons, you know.
Interesting.
Like you get your chicken instead of in a clam thing. If you over and get a baked chicken, it doesn't come in a clam container anymore. It'll come in a cardboard box.
Yeah.
You know, and that might be the future. You know.
That's interesting that they might do that. No question. All right. Well, let's talk a little bit also about. I appreciate that. It's always a good reminder to remind people what you can and can't do in their recycling carts. We've worked very hard with the recycling program in Pocatello to get the to make it so it's affordable.
Yes.
It used to be an opt-in, and now it's free. It just comes with your water bill.
Yep, comes with your regular trash service. Yeah.
That's right, and so that's a nice thing. If somebody, do we have people that don't have the blue cart?
We do have a few. I think we're at about between 70 and 75% of our residential accounts have recycle carts. So we're right up there. We have a pretty good participation in the program. So.
Is most of it if they don't have one because they don't want two big carts sitting there? Or
That's some of it. Yeah, I think it's like placement and trying to keep track of when recycling days are. We're always looking for ways to streamline the process, and keeping track of your recycling day is kind of problematic. It's like every other, if your garbage day is Tuesday, it's every other Tuesday, and most people can't remember that it's Tuesday.
I know I can't. I just roll them both out, and if they empty them both, great. If they don't, then they don't.
You know, we've been trying to come up with ways to simplify that process, and one of them that we've been doing is working with the IT, trying to come up with a calendar that they can type their address in, and it will tell them what services they have.
That's a good idea.
And just trying to simplify it, so if you can't remember when your recycle day or your yard waste day or any of that stuff, you just type in the thing, and all of your, at least for our department, services will come up and what day they're on.
Sure.
So we're hoping to get that finished up, in the next little while, and I think that will help with that a lot. So.
Good. Well, we've got you've got some auto cart guidelines as well. What should we talk about those?
As far as cart placements,
well, proper use of them and improper use, cart placements, things like that.
Yeah. Well, it's like the purpose of the curbside side loader program is basically speed and efficiency. So when our customers put out their carts and they're nice and spaced out, the trucks can go down the road, and I'm sure you guys have all seen them, and they're clipping along at about 700 houses a day. And that's in order to make the department efficient and cost effective. That's what we kind of shoot for. When the drivers have to stop and start maneuvering carts around other carts or cars or people who pile things against them, and they're in and out and move the carts, and it starts to slow that down drastically. I mean, you go from 700 to maybe 300.
Wow.
I mean, it has a big effect. It takes a long time, plus we snarl traffic. You know, if you've ever been behind one of our trucks going down Jefferson and he's clipping along as fast as he can, and then he has to stop and get out and move a can, we back traffic up for 4 blocks.
Sure.
Instantly. I mean, so, there's a lot of reasons why we do that, but most of it is efficiencies. We'd like the carts spaced as good as you can space them for us. We understand that we can't always get 4 feet between the carts. We, as a department, we understand that. But as long as it looks like the customers are trying to make it accessible to us, then we do everything we can to get it. So.
Is 4 feet optimal? If I may,
No, absolutely. I was going to ask that question.
Is that what you recommend?
Yeah, 4 feet is the optimal thing for us, so that the truck can come in at its regulated speed, come in, snag the cart, dump it, get it set back down, and not have to worry about the surrounding area. About 4 feet is what we have. So, but we're happy if I can get like 2.5. They got to slow down for it, but they can at least get in there. When they set them up.
I feel bad for them when they come to my house. I'm in a cul-de-sac.
Oh yeah.
and you don't have room to put. We've got all of us back there. They on recycle days. You got 4, 8, 12 carts sitting out there in the back of a cul-de-sac.
Yeah, and as the truck turns to make that corner, they get farther away. Right. As they turn, right, and that's the problem with cul-de-sacs. And we've got some new technology. The new Labrie trucks, the atomizers that we're running now has a lot better reach, and that problem is slowly getting better. So, hopefully, we don't have too many new cul-de-sacs going in. Most of them are hammerheads.
Oh yeah.
Designed so that the truck can be parallel to the curb all the time. Because it's the turning radius of the cul-de-sacs that cause the problem. It's not necessarily where the carts are placed in it. It's the turning radius that the truck has to have to make that corner.
I see.
So
well, I'm surely not 4 feet apart. And
no, and most people in the cul-de-sacs really are pretty good about helping us out. They'll place them where they know we can get to them, and they'll some of them line them up, some of them put them all on one side. Some of them. Someone bring them out to us.
Well, what would be the best advice for the cul-de-sac folks? Would it be put them all on one side where you can pull up there and just get them all and back out, or would it be?
Every cul-de-sac is a little different and unique depending on what's parked in there. When I was operating all the time, I kind of liked them lined up in a straight line on 2 rows, one on each side, and then I would pull in nose first, dump everything on this side, back out, turn the truck back in the other way, and dump them going out. So, in areas that cul-de-sacs are set up that way, and you're not blocking somebody's driveway, which is usually the problem with the
That's
cul-de-sac.
usually, yeah.
A cul-de-sac, if we lined up, let's say you had 12 in yours and we lined up 6 of them in a row, we're getting somebody's driveway.
Yeah.
Somebody's
Yeah,
not going to be able to
probably
back out. You know? So, you know, it's just one of those problem places, and we usually go up and deal with each cul-de-sac on a one-on-one, talk to them and say, could you put it here?
Yeah.
And most people are pretty willing to help us out, so.
I know they did. I asked them to come up, and they came up, and I said, okay, where do you want my cart? And they told me exactly where they wanted on the road, and so every week I try to put it exactly where he told me he wanted it, so we'll see how that works.
Yeah.
So what are the things you can't do with the carts? Are there some things that you shouldn't do with the carts?
Well, obviously, we don't like hot things in them because they catch on fire. So
Okay.
coming in this time of year, we want to caution people that if you're cleaning out your fireplaces and stuff, do not pour those into those plastic carts because they do catch on fire.
They will.
They do burn to the ground. We get several of them every year, and we've had a few of them that actually caught fire next to people's houses. So kind of a scary
Yeah,
situation.
that's never a good thing for the house or the cart.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
what about sidewalks? I mean, are you supposed to put them somewhere out of the way? Out of
In order for the city to be ADA compliant, the carts are not allowed up on the sidewalks themselves. All the carts have to be in the curb, and so you know, if you don't have a curb, like let's say like over on Hawthorne or
Yeah, Hawthorne Road, you don't have
curbs,
yeah.
any of that stuff over on that side of town doesn't have the curb and gutter things, and just off of the asphalt, off the road a little
Okay.
bit, you know. But we want to create a walking path, whether you have a sidewalk or not, for the public to get up and down and not have to run into the carts. So that's, you know, yeah, they need to be off the sidewalk though, and we will also tag carts for that. We'll put oops tags on them, and let
Okay.
them know that, you know, if we start to get long stretches of houses that are starting to put them up on the sidewalks, we will send somebody down through there to start
Okay.
tagging carts.
Yeah. What about every now and again I see some carts with the lid still up, and can you just fill them until you have stuff falling out of them, or?
We ask that they don't fill the carts past the top of the cart so
Okay.
that the lids will close. Obviously, we can't get that perfect every time, but that is what we shoot for. That the problem with loading carts up and then putting something tall in there and the lid's up and then the wind comes up, and even though it creates kind of a vacuum going over the top of that can, it just starts pulling the trash out of it. So even though it's only one little piece that might be sticking up, the fact that the lid's up allows the trash to come out of the cart. So windy days and stuff like that, it's like those overloaded carts are a big problem for us.
Yeah.
At least the wind never blows here, though.
That's true. It's a good thing. At least we don't have that
Yeah,
happening. So
it never gets windy in Pocatello.
everything in Pocatello ends up in my yard. It feels like
course.
because it's that cul-de-sac.
Okay.
So, well, it's interesting. When we move, do we take our carts with us?
No, carts are assigned to the house. So, yeah, when you move, you would contact UB or our office, and we will remove that cart from your place and bring it back to the shop. And when you get to your new residence, we will issue you another
A new
cart.
one,
But
okay.
the carts are specifically assigned to an individual address. And when we go to moving your carts around, when we go to make repairs on a cart, to give you an example, say you were to call me up and say, hey, my cart has a broken lid on it, and you and your neighbor over there off of Cedar somehow got your carts mixed up, so I'm going to pull up to your house and I'm going to look at it and go, that is not your cart. Because it has the numbers
Sure.
not assigned to you, it's assigned to a guy down on Cedar. So automatically we already got a problem because I can't replace the broken cart that's not yours anyway. So I have to go find yours. So we start this chase of trying to run down where this cart is, and sometimes it goes pretty quick, sometimes we never find them. But even as something as simple as like just getting a broken cart fixed, if the numbers don't match the address, it takes a lot of manpower to get that sorted out. So that's one of the things we ask the customers to do is don't swap carts, Don't take them to other places in town and use them and then bring them back, you know. Just, this is your cart, keep it in front of your house.
Now I'm curious if I have the cart that fits my house or not.
Or you have 12 in a cul-de-sac, and you could be any one of the 12.
Could be, yeah. Interesting. All right. Well, good deal. All right. Sizes of carts matter to some people.
Some of them do. We have two sizes, basically. We have the 64 gallons, which are the small ones. A lot of our elderly and use those carts because they're easier to move. And then we have the 96-gallon full-size carts. And we also have the different kind of carts. We have the trash carts, the recycle carts, which are the blue ones. We have the yard waste carts that are the green with the brown lids.
So don't fill your green brown lid one with garbage.
No, even though it's a form of recycling, composting is a form of recycling. It is not part of the curbside recycling program.
Okay.
And we get that once in a while. People will take their blue carts and put grass in them and think that they're recycling, and they're not. They're just contaminating the loads. And once we get a certain contamination rate in that load, then it just goes to the landfill. If it's something we can't salvage, you know, we had one a while back that a guy, or I should say a guy, a person, put a 1 gallon plastic jug of motor oil in a blue recycling cart, and when it hit the inside of the truck, it opened up and it spread oil through that entire, I mean, it pretty much destroyed it.
So you just have to go and put that in the landfill. You can't.
That is unrecoverable at that point. Yeah, they just won't. Stuff like petroleum product contamination, they have zero tolerance for that. You know, so anything like that, is very bad.
Well, that brings up your oil cans and stuff. Your quart of oil, you can't put that in the recycle bin.
Nope.
After you've.
No, even if it said #1 plastic on it. It is, if it's got petroleum products in it or pesticides or anything like that, then it's not.
That has to go to the landfill.
It has to go to the landfill, and if it's got oil in it, you know, if it's full, then there's a couple ways they can deal with that. They have hazardous waste days up at the landfills that you take it up there. If it's clean, we'll take it at the shop.
Would somebody just bring it down to the shop for you?
Sure, if it's clean.
So what do you mean clean?
Clean meaning it doesn't have water, antifreeze, or any other contaminants. If it's right out of the engine, you know, or out of the transmission, depending on what kind of oil it is, then, and we're relatively sure that it's clean, then we'll just take it at our shop because we burn it in our oil burning heaters. So
which helps keep the
helps
price
keeps
down.
the price down. Yeah.
It sounds good. Yard waste.
Yes.
You mentioned yard waste just a little bit there. Let's talk a little bit about yard waste.
Okay, so
And leaf pickup, actually, because
it starts today.
today is the day it
Today
starts.
is the day. Yeah. Lots of phone calls about leaves this
So
year.
we might just mention today's, actually, we're recording this because it will go for a month. It's the 13th today of November.
Yeah.
So it starts, but as soon as people hear it, then it would be nice to have them understand and know what we're talking
What
about.
it
So
is.
leaf pickup and cleanup.
So every year, the sanitation department, we run a fall leaf pickup, and the purpose of this is to help the citizens clean up the leaves and all the excess green material that is around their yard that die in the fall. And we are working with Bannock County on a compost program. Bannock County actually runs the compost program. We supply some of the material to it, and the leaf cleanup is part of helping that program. So what we do is every year we pick out what we believe is a date when we can get the most leaves on the ground and start running through the city picking them up. This year we're running from the 13th through December 1st. Unfortunately, this year the leaves came down a little bit early, so we've had a lot of calls like, would you guys start earlier next year? And
It's always kind of a crapshoot when to start in reality, because a few years ago we started too soon and ended too soon, and then the leaves fell after we ended. So.
And one of the things I would like the people to understand is the leaf pickup is a free program that we run, and that we bring crews and trucks in just for that. So that's why there is a limited space. It's not part of our normal garbage services.
Yeah.
So We try to concentrate when the leaves are going to be at the curb so that we're only running a minimal amount of equipment and a minimal amount of personnel to get this done. If we extend this out, like let's say from October through November, and we publish that date, I have to run crews up and down every road in town until somebody sets their leaves out, which is pretty inefficient, you know. You might have 1 or 2 out of a 700 house route that might put their leaves out, you know, and that's just not an efficient way for us to do that. So we try to encourage people, like we want to pick them up in this time frame, and we want all of them, and you know, that's why we run it that way. We've kind of been kicking around the idea of because that when the leaves fall is difficult to pinpoint, and we've been kind of kicking around the idea of would it be feasible to run a leaf drop box idea, similar to what we do with the Christmas trees. As long as they were in the compostable bags and we didn't start getting a lot of contaminants in it and a lot of garbage in there, that there might be a possibility that we could extend that a little if we use the drops.
But somebody would have to take their leaves to a location, put it in like we do with the Christmas
trees, exactly. But it might give people some options, and once it's in the box, we would still, you know, we would basically store it until we do the leaf pickups and then run them all to the landfill at once.
So compostable bags, though, is what we need to use.
Yes.
Not boxes.
Not cardboard boxes, not plastic bags of any type. And even if they say compostable bags, the landfill has tried several variations of those and have not had a lot of success with them. And again, like with the recycling programs, the landfill says no plastic bags. So that's kind of where we're at. And we want the paper compostable bags. You can pick those up. All of the big stores carry them for us. Lowe's has got them, Home Depot's got them, Ace has got them. You know, there's quite a few vendors in town that have them, and they stock them every year just for this purpose. So
you can pick them up. I'm assuming they're not super expensive.
I don't know. I think they were like $4, something like that, for a package of them.
Okay.
So
fairly affordable, so you can do that. But if you don't want to do that and you're a part of the compost program, then you can just put the leaves in your regular compost bin. You can be doing that every time they fall. You can load it up.
That's exactly right, which is the benefit of being in the compost program, because you're not relying on the leaf pickup. It's the leaves are just part of the program. So you could, like we were talking before, if your leaves started falling in October, you can be using that program every week from October till the snow flies.
Sure.
I mean, I think we wrap that program up the 1st of December.
So yeah, you can really literally be putting them in anytime you want.
Yeah.
That's good. And how do we still have, I know that there was a limit on how many people could be in that compost program. Do we still have that limit?
We do, but it's pretty loose right now. My last conversation with the landfill, we bumped it up to 1,000 carts this coming summer.
Okay.
And we never quite hit 1,000. I think we were at about 900 and a little over 900 customers total in the yard waste program. The landfill has started charging per ton this last year, so they're charging us $10 a ton. Previously it was free. So I don't believe, I don't believe that the landfill is going to put a cap on the city anymore. At this point. I think it's going to be as much as the city feels like we want to extend this program.
Well, if we're paying, they're getting some revenue from it. So.
Yeah, and it helps support the program. I mean, you know.
Sure.
You can only offer so many free services before you have to start paying for the program, and Bannock County's been pretty good to us as far as like allowing, you know, the free use of the compost sites and stuff for a lot of things, and for quite a while actually, and it doesn't really surprise me that they started charging a minimal fee of $10 a ton, which from a departmental point of view is a pretty minor dollar amount for us. So
sure. Well, it's if we're using it with the compost and not in the landfill itself, it's not filling our landfill up, and that's helping.
Yes. Plus the cost difference, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, even at $10 a ton, which is what they are currently charging for composting, it is $29 a ton to use the landfill.
Yeah.
So it's almost 3 times as much to
Yeah,
bury it.
that's true. Wow.
So
Well, I'd encourage everybody to get involved in those things. It'll be interesting if we can make it easier for people to recycle, or at least know what day their recycle is.
yeah, I think that would be a step in the right direction, because that really is the one we have. We get a lot of calls on that. So.
Now, can somebody order 2 recycle carts and 1 garbage opposed to 2 garbage? And
Sure, absolutely. You can have, like, you're allowed 1 recycle cart for every trash can that you have. So if there is a $5 fee per month, which is cheap, for an extra, if you wanted 2 recycle carts, you know, or 3, you know, however many
You could do that.
You could do that. Yeah.
well, that's a great program. We sure appreciate it. Let's talk to our new attorney. He sat quietly there, and which is, just so you know, was hard for him.
You're getting to know me well now.
You're an attorney. Any attorney,
Right.
it's tough, and so we've got to keep you going there anyway. Jared Johnson, why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself? We've just hired Jared and appointed him here a month ago, I think.
Yep.
Close to, and you know, you've definitely made an impact already for our city. So why don't you introduce yourself a little bit? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Be happy to. I hope it's a good impact, by the way. I've been here, my first day with the city was October 16th.
Okay.
Just thrilled to be the new city attorney for the city of Pocatello. Pocatello has always been home for me. Born and raised in this community, north of town, just a little bit out in the Tyhee area, and went to school here with all the private or public schools, and then went to ISU for my undergraduate, and then went to U of I for law school, and then back to Pocatello. After that, I spent a little over 10 years with the Bannock County Prosecuting Attorney's Office, and did various things in that office, and then was given this opportunity, so here I am.
Applied for this and just was prepared and did a great job on the interview. And why don't you just kind of give us an idea of what to expect out of our attorney now?
Well, I think it's real important for the city attorney to be a visible department head at the city. I want to be there for the mayor and for the city council for any legal advice that is needed. Issues come up all the time, and every day is an adventure. You never know what's going to come in. And so
That's probably a fun part of your job, though, is
absolutely.
you have to something different every day.
Yeah, you never know what's going to come up and what questions are going to arise, and so you just kind of have to be prepared to think on your feet sometimes, but also be able to go find the answer if you don't know it. I certainly will never give legal advice that I'm not confident in, and so sometimes that answer isn't immediate. It takes time to find those things. But yeah, I want my position and my I work here at the city to be really visible to people. I want an open door policy. It's always been the way I've operated. I want not only just the mayor, yourself, and city council to be able to come in and visit and talk through things, but other employees, department heads, really anybody that has an issue with what they're doing, and hopefully my department can help out with that.
So when we got blasted for Arlen and his plastics, it would have been good to probably have some advice there on how to respond.
Yes, certainly. I work a lot with our PIO person here at the city, and we try to get the information out there that's accurate and that's helpful to people and timely so that they can have an answer right away.
Good.
It's a public service position, just like everybody here at the city, and so it's fun to be able to practice law in a public service setting, because then I get to do a couple of things that I really enjoy, which is the practice of law as well as be there for the people.
Kind of serve everybody in the community, I guess.
Yeah. Like I say, it's always been home, and it's just great to be able to hopefully, there's a lot of days I feel like I was impactful in a good way, help things move the direction they need to, legally speaking, as well as, there's more than just the black and white law to issues that come up. It's what's good policy, what's going to protect us in the future, what's going to be advantageous for us as we go forward, and other things are applied to that issue or that policy, and how it impacts people. It's not just whether or not it follows state code and federal code and even city ordinance. It's how this impacts people.
Sure. Well, it's always important to have that kind of a perspective of, okay, this is really going to affect most of the citizens if we do it this way or not. So
sure,
that's good to have that insight. One thing that's been nice, when we're sitting there as a city council and stuff, and we are discussing things, and then we look and say, okay, what can we legally do? You typically have your whatever you have there, your laptop or whatever it is there that you've pulled up and you started the research. When we start talking about something, you started that research. And
sure. Yeah, well, as much as I can, I like to have it done prior to the meeting, but issues come up and different questions come up that you can't anticipate. And so it's always been my practice to try to really be on the issue at the moment and get some answers right then if possible. And at least, maybe not answers, but some suggestions and some options. Mm-hmm. My job is not just to say yes or no to things being legal or not, but to present some options if there's a better way to do it. And so I like to be right on the spot, and that's why I like to attend as many meetings as I do, so that I can be aware of what the issues are when they come up, what's important to the people I'm working with, and what their goals are, so I can help them get there the best way that works for them and from a legal perspective as well.
Ultimately protecting the city from different suits and different problems that could come up in the future.
I always say the easiest way to win litigation is not to get into litigation.
Don't get in.
Right.
Don't have it.
Right. So if we can do it as with the least amount of liability, but still doing what we need to do as a city. There's always the chance of liability, right? People always have that right. But if we're doing things the right way, then we don't have to worry about it so much in the future.
Yeah, that's good. That's ultimately what I think we'd all like, is to stay out of court.
Sure.
And maybe that's why you have an attorney, so you can stay out of court. I'm not sure. Tell us a little bit about your background before. You were raised here, and you've done that. You've went to the public schools, went to ISU, U of I. After you graduated from U of I, did you automatically immediately start at the county, or?
So I did, yeah. I had the job with the Bannock County Prosecutor's Office lined up before I graduated from law school.
Okay.
So it was about a week after graduation that my first day with Bannock County started, and I started right in the courtroom. I jumped in and took on the misdemeanor caseload, and did that for a couple of years, and it was right off the bat I was working with Pocatello police officers and Bannock County and ISP, and just really jumped in and got to be familiar with the judicial system here in Bannock County. So I did that for a couple of years, and then after that I went into the felony caseload with the Bannock County Prosecutor's Office and did pretty much anything and everything. We have some divisions in that office, but we also cover for each other, and there was times when conflicts come up with other prosecutors that I got to experience a little bit of everything in the felony world, and that was just a fantastic experience as well. So
working with the police departments are pretty important.
Yeah, absolutely.
From either side, the county or the city.
Yep.
And having that relationship with all the entities is even more beneficial, I would think. The relationship with the city of Pocatello and Chubbuck, and the county and the state, all four entities that are in this area. It seems to me like it'd be valuable for you.
Well, it is. It's really valuable. A lot of the unfortunately, we have some big crimes that happen in our community, and when those happen, we have great relationships among our law enforcement agencies here locally, and so they help each other out. They have different resources that can be beneficial to another's investigation. We had the tragedy that happened in Chubbuck not too long ago, and of course, the city and the county and the state were all very willing and did help with that investigation. And then you go through the state labs, which are administered by the out-of-state police. So yeah, to have a working relationship with all of those agencies is really important. And here at the city, obviously we, as the city, prosecute the misdemeanors and infractions that happen within our jurisdiction. Mm-hmm. And so I already had that good relationship, I think, with our Pocatello Police Department.
Yeah. Well, and plus that relationship with the the judges and the people of the county, the prosecutors of the county, where you can have some real serious discussions if needed.
Sure.
and go from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably helps the process as a whole move forward.
Yeah, I mean, we're all one big team, and we all have the same goal, and that's justice for those that are accused of a crime in the criminal setting of things.
Sure.
And so, I think that being able to bring that experience with Bannock County to the table here with the city has been and will continue to be really beneficial for both sides.
Sure.
We have a great relationship with everybody at the county, and it's going to be good for us as well.
Well, and you've talked a little bit about the criminal cases and side of things. What about the civil side of things? Have you been involved in much of that at the county when you were there?
Yeah, so my last almost 2 years with the county was spent as the civil chief deputy for the county. The county attorney is the elected prosecutor, but because of the size of the county and the scope of that position's responsibilities, he has elected, the last several prosecutors have elected to have a chief civil deputy take care of those things. And so that was my position for almost 2 years prior to coming to the city. That entailed really a lot of the same things I do for the city as city attorney. I worked with all the elected officials at the county, which there's quite a few. All the department heads.
They're all elected, aren't they?
Well, yeah, so you have all the elected officials and then department heads within some of those elected officials' offices.
So elected officials at the county, we're looking at commissioners, you're looking at the treasurer.
Right. Well, you've got the three commissioners, the treasurer, the prosecutor, the county clerk is an elected official.
That's right.
The county assessor is an elected official, the sheriff, and the coroner.
And okay.
I hope I didn't miss anybody there, but I think that's it.
We
yeah.
know a lot of them are elected there.
Right. So a lot of those elected officials have department heads within their offices.
Okay.
But I worked with all of them, and I got that experience of working with an elected official, of working with the civil issues that a county faces. The county doesn't have as many employees as the city, but anytime you have an organization with employees, you have personnel issues that come up.
Sure.
So a lot of the things I did with the county were a good experience builder for me to come in as city attorney. I reviewed a lot of contracts and agreements, and just oversaw the legal side of the general workings of the county.
Sure.
And so certainly the city's oversight and the jurisdiction that we have as a city and the things we concentrate on are a little different than the county. We don't have the court system. We don't have a jail, things like that. But we have a lot of similar government functions that we perform as a city that we also did as a county.
Well, but it's still pretty important to have that understanding of the jail and have that understanding of the court system, the courthouse and all of that, just simply because it helps, I would think.
Yeah, so we obviously use those services as a
Sure.
city that's, obviously Pocatello is the largest city in Bannock County.
Mm-hmm.
And so to have a relationship with the county and its functions as a city is vital. I know you meet with the commissioners regularly, and you're able to keep that relationship solid and deal with the issues that come up, because we do have so many issues that come across the jurisdictions.
Well, it seems like we want to keep the cost down for things anyway, and just having that knowledge and having that partnership will help.
Right, and there's things that we both are involved in various issues from the city's perspective and the county. And if we work together, then that keeps the cost down as well.
Sure.
We're both looking at the same issue and trying to work together. As the biggest city in the county, we're a big part of their taxing district, that we're a big part of the functions that they perform. And so without a relationship there, it would cost a lot more, and it would just be not nearly as effective as it is. I've really been pleased with that relationship. And I got to tell you, one of the reasons I was really interested in this city attorney position is because I've seen the city and how it operates, and always been impressed with that from the county perspective. And now to be a part of that is just awesome for me.
Well, I think we've always had a pretty good, working relationship, and pretty good attorneys as we've gone over to defend what we've needed to defend and doing
Sure.
stuff. And so I appreciate you acknowledging that. What does your staff look like?
So right now, there's 3 other attorneys in the office. They've been here a while, and they do great. They know what's going on at the city, and they have a good grasp of what the issues are and where we are at on those issues. And then we have 3 paralegals that work in the office as well. and they all do a fantastic job. They just keep the machine working properly and keep things going really well. So we have a great staff, great department.
Well, I know that they take a lot of pride in what they do and how they do it, and I know that they do a great job, and so it's good to hear that that's what your feeling is as well. Though I know your paralegals, they're incredible, and I know the other attorneys they're great attorneys.
Absolutely. And they all were really welcoming to me, been very helpful to get me on the ground. You know, they were here, and so to bring in the new guy that's also the boss is a little bit of an odd situation, but I have to give them credit for their professionalism, to bring me in and to show me the ropes and get me situated, and I feel like that was a smooth transition and continues to be, and everybody's focus is to really just go forward and do our jobs and get the things done that we need to, and I haven't seen, from my perspective, any hiccups at all in that process, and so I hope that's the sentiment citywide. Good.
Well, I know that we did a few years ago, we made some changes in the legal department, and I know they stepped up, greatly then, because we reduced one attorney, and they all stepped up and said, we're going to do this and we're going to make this work regardless of what it's going to take, and they worked hard, and they've done a great job doing that, and I think they've kept us on pace, and so that's good.
Yeah,
absolutely. How involved are you in things like the economic development, for example, the Northgate project that we have coming?
So that's a project that's huge, right? It's something that on the scale that we haven't seen before in this area. So my involvement has been very involved. I spend several hours a week in various meetings and researching various issues to make sure that as we go forward on that project that we're doing it correctly. Because it's unbroken ground, so to speak, we want to make sure that we're not doing anything that is going to cause problems down the road, 5, 10, 15 years even, or even sooner than that. And so certainly we've had development in the city, and that's always something that occurs, but something on this scale takes a little extra care, and so I'm taking that one on with the help of my staff and the other attorneys, but personally I'm involved in that very closely. I feel like that's my role. Like I mentioned earlier, as city attorney, I want to be that visible person. I want to be there for the big issues, and that one is a big one right now that I'm heavily involved in.
Well, that can go a number of different directions, and if we stay on top of it legally, we'll be able to guide it the way it needs to, and so that's good to know. Absolutely. That you're looking at it that way as well. As I'm looking forward into the future, it always is surprising to me. Attorneys seem to know an awful lot of things about everything. What would you say would be your expertise?
Well, mostly because of my experience and the number of years that I've done it, I would have to say a lot of my expertise is in the criminal prosecution side of being a city attorney. That's where I have those years and that comfort level, although there's always new issues that come up with that.
Sure.
The law doesn't change nearly as rapidly in the criminal procedure side of things and the criminal law itself. But also I feel like as civil chief deputy for the county and now a city attorney, public administration and just the public, the laws that govern public officials are really specific in Idaho. It's not been that many years ago Idaho did a revamp of their transparent and ethical government provisions. And I've spent a lot of time looking at those and making sure that the county was in compliance with those laws and now the city. And I feel like I've got that down pretty well to where I can be a good advisor when it comes to making sure that we're doing the things that the law requires. As the county civil attorney, I inherited, I guess, if you will, or was part of the process of 3 brand new commissioners coming in all at once, which is a really unique situation to be in. Usually that only happens when a county is formed, and we haven't formed a new county in Idaho in a long time. So to have all 3 commissioners sworn in at the same time was a great thing to have from the perspectives and the types of individuals that came in and their personalities, but also from a legal perspective, it was important for me to guide them right from the get-go on being in compliance with the law. And so I feel really confident in that ability. you know, and there's other parts of the law. The law's huge, right? It's a really big lake.
Oh, sure.
And there's a lot of parts to it. And I have some great deputy attorneys in my office that are very competent and capable in other parts of the law that maybe I don't have that much experience in. And together, I feel like we make a solid team.
Well, I know that I've noticed that as you go into the legal department now, if there's something happening, you're actually having the discussions that, okay, you're taking those strengths of the deputy attorneys and really using them, and so that's commendable. That number one, they'll work that way, and number two, you'll work with that way. I mean, it just shows that we've got a great staff there.
Absolutely. Well, there's not a one of us can do it all by ourselves, and
Sure.
so to have a couple of attorneys that about 2.5 of us work on the civil side, and one works on the criminal side, and then one, like I say, is the other half of the criminal. He kind of does both. But to just have those resources, and it always helps just be able to bounce issues and ideas off each other, kind of talk through them, and then do the research and come back together and see what each other has found and get a good decision and a good opinion created, and then we can share that and feel confident in it.
That's good, and it's amazing to me that, I mean, you look at the issues that come in front of city attorneys and county attorneys. I mean, you have water, you have planning, you have personnel, you have criminal, you have just an array of different issues and concerns and things that come, and I just, you know, we've got a great department that can get you the answers that you're looking for.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really the goal, is to get those answers. If we don't have them right away, because some issues we see over and over again.
Sure.
So we know it, and it's there. Some are a little more unique, and so it takes a little bit of time, hopefully quick and reasonable amount of time, to get that answer and move forward.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have everybody moving in that same direction and really, truly, you know, making Pocatello, you know, easier to work with and
Right.
and better for the employees, better for the citizens, better for the elected officials. And the more information we all have, the better off we are, and we're able to make the decisions that are actually
Exactly.
going to be solid decisions. And so
Exactly.
we sure appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Appreciate that. So believe it or not, Arlen didn't think we would take the whole hour, but we have. Is there anything, just in closing, that you would like us to know, the citizens to know, anything about you just left out purposely that you don't want us to know, but...
Well, I'll tell you about all that stuff then, right? No.
That's right.
You know, really, I think the thing would be to say that I love living here. I love being the city attorney all 4 weeks so far.
So far.
No, it's been great. It will be great. I have no doubt about that. You know, I'm raising my own family here. I have a beautiful wife and 5 wonderful children, and we're just happy to be here and be part of this community. It's just always been home to me, and it was never my intention to raise my family anywhere else. And so to be part of the process and to be part of the local government that and getting to be part of the decisions and see the growth and the positive things happening is just wonderful. So that would be one thing I would leave with you, is that I just love this job, love this community, and hopefully we can all work together to continue to make it a great place.
Well, I think we have a great community. There's no question about that, and I think we've got a great employees, and I think the city, we really truly work hard to make it right for people and help people. You know, really truly for the most part to keep costs down and do that stuff. It'd be very easy for a city our size to have twice the legal staff and, quite frankly, twice the sanitation staff and all of that stuff. And I think we do a really good job at really maximizing the potential that everybody has. So thank you to both of you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Appreciate all that you do. Thank you very much for tuning in, and have a great month.